Yo, 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 how y'all doing, man? Welcome back to yet another NFL video. Man, I don't know why. It's only been like 2, 3 days since the last video, but I am in a good mood. I'm feeling happy. Shit. So, I mean, life's going good. I'm happy where I am with certain shit, and the channel's about to go crazy the next couple of weeks. So let's get right into it, man. Today, I'm doing, I was gonna do quarterbacks. I had no idea how many I wanted to do, but I started going through the list of all the teams in the league, how many quarterbacks. So basically, what this list comes down to, every quarterback on this list, I got 18 of them, I believe could win you a Super Bowl. Actually, let me rephrase that. I believe every quarterback on this list could take a team to a Super Bowl. There are quarterbacks on this list who have already won Super Bowls. There are quarterbacks on this team who have never won a playoff game, I think. So I got a wide variety, but I do have faith, at least some faith, in every single one of these guys. And I'm gonna let y'all know what I think. This probably gonna be a longer. This is definitely gonna be a longer video. But let's get right into it, man. Thank you for watching. All right, man. Let's start off obviously with the guy who y'all probably expected to be number one on here. That's Patrick Mahomes, and you can kind of see the outline for how I'm going to do this. I tried to figure out how far back we should look, right? Because it's important. There's a lot of things for it. Let me keep explaining. I did not do a big enough explanation. So everybody's list is going to look different because there's so many different factors that people take into consideration. Like, for example, the big four for me would be like regular season uh body of work, playoff success, health, overall talent, and like I guess those are the big four things, right? Playoff success, regular season stats, accolades, health, how healthy you've been as a player, and what was the other shit I said? And just overall talent, right? Those are four factors, right? But out of those four factors, people could pick whatever one they want in terms of what's most important to them. I tried to make it pretty even. You know what I mean? I tried to not focus too heavily on one or the other, but it's tough. Everybody has their biases as well. So I tried to do my best, man. And I was kind of shocked with how it turned out, to be honest with you. I did not expect to put certain guys over other guys, but at number one, man, obviously is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he he checks all four boxes. I mean, what do you want to talk about? He's only missed one game the last 3 years, and that was him sitting out, for the playoffs. Um, he's won the last two Super Bowls in a row. The year he didn't win it, he made it, right? Was that 2021? No, was that the conference? 2021 is that's when they lost to the Bengals, right? Okay, so he's made okay, won two straight Super Bowls. I don't know. We already know what there is to be said about Mahomes. Oh, another thing, bro. I didn't want to go back past the last 3 years because I feel like that's not really relevant to who they are now as a player. Like we're gonna get into guys who, I mean, if you're the same player you were 4 years ago, that's kind of a bad thing in a way, right? You expect guys to change and evolve. So I felt like 3 years is a good stopping point to really judge who they are, right? So for Mahomes, the last 3 years, he's been dominant, bro. I mean, there's no debates, arguments. I mean, statistically, we're gonna see a couple benchmarks in terms of stats here, and he blows all of those out of the fucking water, bro. I mean, yeah, it's gonna just sound like glaze after a little bit, but obviously Mahomes, best player in the league, generational talent, possibly the GOAT. Now is where it gets interesting. I actually ended up with Josh Allen as my number two overall player. Well, quarterback. And I didn't expect that going into this. I had him like in the 4, 5, 6 range around there. But when I broke it down, right, let's talk about this. So Josh Allen is a guy who has made the playoffs each of the last 3 seasons, has won at least one playoff, was won one playoff game each of the last 3 seasons. Statistically, he's been amazing. The win loss record is incredible. It's right up there with Mahomes. I mean, look at the records. He's one game off of Mahomes in the same sample size, right? Statistically, he's there, but the biggest problem, right, is really the turnovers. I'd say he might lead this entire list. I mean, he's 75 turnovers the last 3 years. That's insane. That's insane. And that would be if you want to tear Josh Allen down and to say he's not second, he's more like 4, 5, 6, whatever. That would be where you would attack it, I'd assume. For me personally, though, I really the things I value most about Josh Allen are his consistency, his durability, and his success in both the regular season and the playoffs. And I know you think of that and say playoff success. He hasn't. Listen, to win a playoff game each of the last 3 seasons, there's a very small amount of players on this list who have done that. Matter of fact, come to think about it, he might be one of only one or two, to be honest. I mean, I know Mahomes has. Look at this list. Tell me how many other guys on this list have won a playoff game each of the last 3 seasons. It might shock you. So while Josh Allen might not be that high for you, for me personally, I feel like Josh Allen is without a doubt, and he should be in everybody's top five. But it's kind of a take your pick type of thing. I already told you what I like about him. The turnovers aren't great, but it's tough, man. It's tough to really differentiate these guys. At number three, though, I got Joe Burrow. The biggest problem with Joe Burrow is the health, obviously. I mean, last season was basically a wash. I mean, he wasn't healthy when he was out there. He missed time. So basically that's a wash. His rookie season was it his rookie season or his sophomore season was just like completely wiped out due to a big injury. So it's like the guy he's played like what 5 years, but he's only really put together like 3 years, and one of them was like his like I don't know. The Joe Burrow thing, here's how I feel about Joe Burrow. When he's on the field, when he's healthy, undebatably, according to everybody, he should be in your top three. And in my opinion, he's number two. But the problem is the health. That's really it. And, 2021, he was absolutely incredible. Obviously, made the Super Bowl in spite of a horrible offensive line. I mean, look how many times the man got sacked in 2020 and 2022. Um, Still does not turn it over much either. I know he turned it over 19 times in 2021, less than that in 2022. He's won a bunch of play. I mean, he is a proven playoff winner, right? And he's only really had two chances. And look at his record, 5-2, right? So I feel like I feel like it's actually pretty cut and dry when it comes to Joe Burrow. Is when he's healthy, when he's out there, we know how good he is, but he's struggled to be on the field, and to be healthy. So that's really the only question mark there. Um, if he can put together a really good 2024 season, though, like I'm talking 16 plus games and play like we saw in 2021, 2022, then I feel like the door will be shut on who is the second best quarterback in NFL. I think it's Joe Burrow, and I think he will prove that with one more healthy season. Brock Purdy comes in at number four for me, and I'll be honest. I'm a Seahawks fan. I have a little bit of 49ers hate built into me, but I find it hard to just dismiss what Brock Purdy's done the last 2 years. The record, the playoff success, the regular season production, he checks every box. I mean, he just does. I mean, he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but as a second year quarterback who was like a seventh round pick, I think, he took his team to the Super Bowl and played well enough, I think, to win. It was an extremely close game. I mean, just look at the numbers, man. Some of these, let me talk about some of these benchmarks, right? That I consider to be amazing for a quarterback. If you break one, look at the rating stat right here. This rating stat. If you break 100, I consider that to be a great season. The man not only broke 100, he had 113. Look at this number right here, 113. Let's look at all these other guys. Let's see who's had 110 plus season. Joe Burrow, no, even his best was 108. That was Brock Purdy's rookie season, 107. Josh Allen has not even broke. Josh Allen hasn't even broke 100 the last 3 years. Patrick Mahomes has only broke 100 once the last 3 years. Now, these are regular season numbers, but Brock Purdy last season had a historically great season. Now, the second half of last year, he kind of fell apart a little bit. I won't call it falling apart. They still won 12 games, but obviously he looked a little more human the second half of the season. But man, this is the thing. This is his first. He's played 21 regular season games, and he's damn near been flawless. It might sound like I'm glazing a little bit here, but you guys got to understand the magnitude of what we're seeing out of Brock Purdy. It's just been amazing, undeniably amazing. And I understand the biggest argument against Brock Purdy. I'm trying to play the positive and the negative here, is that the amount of talent around him passes anybody else in the National Football League. I agree with that. I mean, he has Hall of Famers at multiple positions, right, on his team. So on his offense, that is. I mean, he has an absolutely stacked roster with a great coach, offensive minded coach. So I understand all of that, but it's it, that doesn't erase what he's done. That doesn't erase the playoff success, the regular season success, his ability to stay healthy besides the Eagles game in the NFC Championship. I mean, he's done everything that it has been asked of him and then some. So unless you're just a straight up Brock Purdy hater, I don't know how you can look at these numbers and deny that he belongs in the top five. Which sounds weird. It sounds kind of crazy. I understand, but the numbers don't lie, and there's a lot of numbers here. Moving on. I got Lamar. What number is this? Is this five? I think it's five. Lamar at five. You know, keep in mind his previous MVP season has not been included here. Uh, but even in that season, I don't think he won a playoff game, did he? So, I mean, I don't even know if you want to include that for that reason. But, again, problem with Lamar, injuries, staying healthy, consistency. I'll admit last season was very impressive. He did end up winning the MVP. It's this is the crazy thing about last season, the MVP. I was trying to think because I hadn't thought about this in a while. I actually was trying to think who won the MVP last season, and I straight up didn't even think of Lamar. Honestly, I was trying to think: did Purdy win the MVP or was it McCaffrey? I wholeheartedly thought it was one of those two guys. Then when I actually looked it up, I'm like, oh wait, Lamar won MVP. Oh, okay. So you know, with all due respect, that he did not light the league on fire last season, but still won the MVP and had probably his second best season of his career. 2021, 2022 were not good years for Lamar. Whether you want to look at the stats, the fact they missed the playoffs both, or they didn't win a playoff game both years, it just wasn't great. It was not great those two seasons. 2023, however, they were amazing. He played very, very well, had a good passer rating. They won a playoff game against the Texans, lost very close loss to the Chiefs. They were this close to being the Chiefs. But again, Lamar, he's only played 40 games over the last 3 seasons. We all know his limitations as a passer. But the question here is with what he does with his legs, right? Does it elevate him to a certain point? Like to where it's better than these other guys? I would say no, because look at his numbers, right? As a running quarterback, look at Lamar's numbers: 2,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 22 fumbles. Let's compare that to Josh Allen: 2,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 28 fumbles. Obviously, has fumbled more than Lamar, but has 18 more rushing touchdowns. So, and not that many less yards than Lamar either. So, honestly, I think everybody understands that Lamar is a very good player, a great player, multiple MVPs, but with the lack of playoff success, the lack of consistency with the injury history, and still not being a dominant thrower of the football. I mean, the crazy part is he's won 2 MVPs and there's still room to grow. But from what I've seen so far, especially recently, I don't think I can put Lamar any higher than where I keep track of these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't put Lamar any higher than 5 for me, even though he has 2 MVPs and I have Mr. Irrelevant one spot higher than him. It's kind of crazy, but it makes sense to me. Number 6, I got Jalen Hurts. The thing with Jalen Hurts is has made the playoffs 3 straight years. 2022, he played out of his mind. I wholehearted, and I say this with every fiber of my being. I believe if Jalen Hurts, I believe he was this close. I think Jalen Hurts was this close to winning MVP and Super Bowl MVP in 2022. The fact of the matter is, if he plays those last 2 games, he wins MVP. If you have a problem with that, if you don't believe that, you're wrong. You're objectively wrong. He was the best player in the regular season in 2022. In the playoffs, he played more than well. He outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. He outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He was the best player on the field that day, but he lost. Didn't win the MVP. Lost the Super Bowl. But 2022 solidified. After 2022, I called Jalen Hurts the best quarterback in the league because he was. The entire year, he was the best quarterback. 2023, obviously, massive step back. Why is that? Well, he had more yards. but he threw the ball ridiculous the amount more times. It really was not that impressive when you think about it, how much more often he threw the football, and his numbers are actually way worse. I mean, he turned it over way too much last season. That everybody can agree with that. He turned it over way too much. However, 15 rushing touchdowns is fucking ridiculous. Jalen Hurts is the best running quarterback in the league statistically. That is not debatable. That's a fact. Look at the numbers. I already showed you Josh Allen. I already showed you Lamar. Jalen Hurts is much better than those. The most amount of touchdowns, second amount of yards, and the second amount of fumbles. So I mean, he is the best. It's just he does enough in every category for me. He's been healthy enough, only missed like 4 games. He's won multiple playoff games. He's combined his production as a runner and as a thrower of the football. I mean, he has 99 touchdowns over the last 3 years. He has an amazing season. He has a season like Joe Burrow 2021, like Lamar last season that really propels him and carries 2021 and 2023 that were not as good, but still solid overall. I mean, each of the seasons here, let's look at the numbers. Each of these seasons, the man's had over, well, 2021, I guess not, has had at least like 3,900 yards and 26 touchdowns total. 2021 wasn't that good, actually. The last 2 years, okay, I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. I might have Hurts higher than most other people, but in my opinion, I just feel like he's better than everybody below him. That simplest way to put it. Right below him, I have Dak Prescott. I don't love this selection. I'll be honest. Dak gets a lot of hate, deservingly so. He folds in the playoffs. He absolutely disappears in the playoffs. With that being said, Dak in 2021 and 2023 had amazing statistical seasons, especially last season, especially last year. He put together a great season. But this is the thing for Dak Prescott, right? 2022, he got hurt. He missed some time. Didn't have a great season. Turned it over. 2022 was not a good year. It was a bad year for Dak. He led the league in picks and missed 4 games, right? Or 5 games, actually. So I'm looking at 2 great years statistically. But in those 2 years, he didn't win a fucking playoff game. Like what is the how do I justify that? So he has nothing for me. In terms of playoff success, he has nothing for me. The guy is all regular season numbers, but he's a very good regular season quarterback who wins a lot of games. 31 and 14. That's a very good record for 45 games. So it's tough, man. It's really tough, but I just have to give credit where credit is due. He gets his team to the playoffs. Amazing in the regular season, but he can't win a playoff game. It's a tough situation to evaluate, but this is how I came up with it. This is, based on his numbers and his success in the regular season. I couldn't put him any lower than, what is this, 7? So it is what it is. Moving on to number 8, I got Justin Herbert. He has been a dominant regular season player since he stepped into the league. Last season changed that. Okay, last season that was not the case, because the offense wasn't as good. His head coach sucks. Kellen Moore was also calling the offense, so maybe that's. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna throw it all on Kellen Moore, but it's weird, It's his first 2 seasons. Even though one was his rookie season, he has not been able to live up to. Last year, or even 2022, it wasn't a great year, but he's basically been a 500 guy the last 3 seasons in terms of wins, which is not great, but also the team success. You got to evaluate that. Look at his touchdown to interception ratio, though. The man, I mean, nobody is denying the talent, I don't think, right? We all know how talented he is and how, the type of numbers he can put up. But when you've won less playoff games than Dak Prescott the last 3 years, that's a problem. That's a major, major problem. I just with Justin Herbert, he doesn't give you any playoff success. He doesn't even win that many regular season games. He's all talent and production. So he only checks 2 of the 4 boxes for me. So it's tough, man. It's tough. But I can't put him higher than Dak Prescott. He's won a playoff game. Jalen Hurts has multiple playoff wins. Justin Herbert, he choked him. He choked his. If he would have beat that Jaguar, if he would have won that game against the Jaguars, he's above Dak Prescott for me. But he didn't win that game. He choked that game. So I don't know which one me to do. There's as high as I can put Justin Herbert on my list. Next up, we got Kirk Cousins. This might shock some people because I don't think many people think of Cousins as a top 10 quarterback. But for me, it's pretty simple. He has been dominant in the regular season. And that word might throw some people off. He has been dominant in the regular season the last few years. Look at the numbers. He has multiple seasons of at least 103 rating. Keep that number in mind. Josh Allen didn't have a same. Look at the rating. Just look at the Lamar Jackson won MVP last season with a rating of 102.7. He won MVP of the league. Kirk Cousins has 2 seasons out of the last 3 better than that. That is not the end all be all. I understand that. However, if you have 2 of your last 3 seasons with a higher passer rating than the MVP of the league last year, that means something. That's what I'm trying to get at here. He provides nothing as a runner of the football. I understand that. He is all arm. But with that arm, I mean, this is the thing about last season. Can we be honest here? Kirk Cousins would win MVP last year. If we're being honest with each other, Kirk was amazing. Look at these 8 games, man. Just do the numbers in your head. Just times it by 2. Let's say he doesn't even play all 17 games. Times it by 2. 16 games, 4,700 yards, 36 touchdowns. Is that not MVP last year? I mean, come on now. Would the Vikings have made the playoffs last year? I believe so. So, I mean, look, guys. Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, I am higher on Kirk Cousins than most people. But the man got sacked 46 times in 2022, gave you nothing in terms of running the football, and won 13 games. I believe he's going to look amazing on the Falcons. That's just my opinion. But he has not won a playoff game. That's the thing holding him back. Even when he was a 13-win team, was not his fault, by the way. His defense let Daniel Jones rip him to shreds. So him not winning a playoff game in 2022 is not on him. I wholeheartedly believe that. But you know, it's just there's so many guys like this where a lot of regular season success, however, no playoff wins to show for it. And also, he's kind of in the same mold as Justin Herbert, except Herbert does more with his legs, right? A lot more with his legs. He's more talented than Kirk, and his numbers are better. So I can't put him above Herbert. I can't really put him above Dak either. But Kirk, there is a prototype of quarterback in this video that I will mention several times. Kirk is the best of them. And we got another one right here. Same prototype as Kirk Cousins. I'm taking Kirk over Matthew Stafford. And that might sound crazy. I understand that. I understand that wholeheartedly. However, if we're being honest with each other, Matthew Stafford is absolutely carried on this list by his 2021 season. I am not going to take that away from Matthew Stafford. He was amazing in 2021 and won a Super Bowl. I'm going to clap it up. He went 16-5 in the 21 games he played. Didn't miss a game. Won the Super Bowl. Absolutely outstanding. He gets all the credit in the world for that. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. With that being said, how much is that worth when the 2 seasons after that, he's gone 12-12, and he just hasn't been that good. That's just what it is. He wasn't bad last season. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't bad last season. Got the Rams to the playoffs. Didn't win a playoff game. He missed a couple games. He was solid. He was solid last year. He played like a top 10 quarterback last year. 2022, he was awful. The Rams were awful. Offensive line was an abomination. I understand that. But outside of 2021, what has he done? What has he done to be a top 10 quarterback? Is he a top 10? I keep losing track. 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, he's 10 for me. But what I'm trying to get at here, the last 2 years have been nothing. He made the playoffs. Wasn't bad. Was solid. Very, very solid. Even good, maybe. But absolutely carried by 2021. And it's tough, man. Because the problem for me, he's on a downwards trajectory. An older quarterback on a downwards trajectory. I don't love that. I just don't love that. So looking into next season, this is going into next season. Which of these guys would I take just for next season? I didn't put that caveat in there earlier, but I don't think Matthew Stafford is that high for me. Maybe I don't know how other people view Stafford though. Like I'm almost certain most people think he's better than Kirk and Dak Prescott. I have both of them above Matthew Stafford. So I don't know how people would feel about that, but the last 2, he just hasn't done much. He just has not done much the last 2 years compared to 2021, where he was absolutely incredible. Jared Goff, same 3 straight guys, same prototype, but The same archetype, I should say. Prototype. That makes fucking sense. All right. Jared Goff. It's the opposite. It's the opposite of Matthew Stafford. Bro was garbage. Bro was terrible in 2021. But since then, he's been improving. He's been getting better. But the problem with Jared Goff is, even though he's been very, very good the last two seasons, he has not had a year where you can say, oh, yeah, Jared Goff, he's been one of the five best quarterbacks. I can't say that about him. He's been a Pro Bowl level player the last 2 years, but I can't say Jared Goff's been at the top of the league. Last season, he went 14-6, including the playoffs. That's great. That's great. But, you know, 2022, it was good. He was good. He was very good. Very good in 2022. He was very good in 2023. But I can't say he's been great. So if you've never had a great season, I mean, how can you be in my top 10? That might be a weird way of putting it, but he's also pretty much 500. Now I understand the 20. I'm not even matter of fact, disregard that. Obviously, he's on an upward trajectory. He basically, this is the problem with Jared Goff. This is the biggest problem for Jared Goff for me. He is as good as the talent around him. And I think that proves itself with the trajectory of the Lions roster the last 3 years. I think it proves itself with the Rams when he was with them. I simply don't think Jared Goff can elevate a team, but absolutely, with this already been proven, he can take a team to the Super Bowl if the talent around him is good enough. So, no disrespect to Jared Goff, he might end up winning a Super Bowl in the future. I believe he could, but I do not think he is capable of what anybody in my top 10 is capable of, even though he's won more games than Dak. It's weird that Jared Goff and Dak are so close, but I feel like I don't. It's weird. It's really weird to me. I don't know though. Jared Goff comes in at like what is this? 11 for me. 11. Number 12 though. I got Tua. I got Tua at 12. Hawk Tua at 12. This is the really interesting thing about Tua. The biggest problem is the health. Without a shadow of a doubt, biggest problem is the health. He's missed what 9 games the last 3 years. Made the playoffs in 2023. Absolutely. Well, they did make the playoffs in 2022, right? But he couldn't play. So he's basically led his team to the playoffs twice, as far as I'm concerned. Um, it's tough, man, because he has been very good. He's even been great. Honestly, if you combine the last 2 years, I'd say he's been great in the regular season. Last season, led the league in passing yards. 2022 was arguably on an MVP pace, but he missed 4 games. I mean, look at the passer rate. Look at the passer rating for 2022. It's an amazing number. It's a great number. Last season was a great number, over 100. However, he turned it over a lot last season. Um, he has a lot of talent around him. He doesn't give you anything as a runner of the football. He turns it over a solid amount. You know, I mean, he has 73 touchdowns and 60 turnovers. That's not a great number for me. Never won a playoff game. It's honestly, I just feel like it's too early for Tua. It's too early. So, give me if this is the thing about Tua. Tua potentially could pass all of these guys. He could pass all these guys. Think about this. What I'm about to say. He could pass Dak, Herbert, Kirk, Matt, and God. He could pass all of those guys if he has a really good season next year. And what I mean by a really good season is just do what you did last season. Turn it over a little bit less, throw for 4,500 plus yards, and win a playoff game or two. If he does that, he could pass all of those guys. That's how close he is from being that upper echelon. But he just has not done enough because he's been hurt, in my opinion. So that's how I feel about Tua. Next up, we got Jordan Love. And we got a couple guys here. We got three straight guys coming up here. I've only played 1 year. Jordan Love, out of all these guys, I feel like is the best. Obviously, the theme with all these guys, we're going to have a very limited sample size. Jordan Love did play 19 games last season, including the playoffs. So we have the most really to see out of him. I felt like it was an extremely impressive first year. We got over 4,400 total yards, 36 touchdowns, 20 turnovers or 20 total turnovers. Passer rating was very high. And here's the thing about Jordan Love. The talent around him, it ended up being good, but nobody thought that going into the year. I mean, how many rookie or second year players did Jordan Love have to throw to? Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, uh, Dontavian Wicks. My bad. The mic died. You know it would. Let me start over. Uh, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, uh, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft. All six of his top receivers or tight ends were either rookies or sophomores. That's ridiculous when you think about it, that he was able to take that and put together that as good of a season as he did last season. And in his first season, he's won as many playoff games as Dak has the last 3 years. It's ridiculous. He's won more games than Justin Herbert ever has, Tua ever has. I mean, than Kirk ever has, I think. So, you know, as as a building block, as a stepping stone, as a first season, he threw himself into a very good category of quarterbacks. Obviously, I cannot put a guy that's only played 19 games in that top level, but I'm very impressed, and I think he is the top of these guys we're going to talk about. Secondly, after Jordan Love, we had C.J. Stroud. Very similar story, to be honest with you. He's also very much exceeded expectations. Won a playoff game. He leads the NFL in aura, but his numbers. Let me just compare the numbers. Numbers objectively were not as good. This is the thing though. He missed 2 games. He did not play 2 games. The passer rating was higher. Okay. But in my humble opinion, I feel like CJ Stroud might have had more talent around him offensively. That's just my opinion. My humble opinion. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's extremely close. It's a very I wouldn't be mad if you said CJ Stroud. I just personally feel like the touchdown interception ratio, eh, it's extremely close. Listen, I'm not confident in saying Jordan Love is better than CJ Stroud, but it's extremely close. And I feel like next season, if I had to pick one, okay, actually, in hindsight, I might take CJ. I might have been wrong here. I might take CJ actually. He has a it's something about CJ Stroud. You can't go against him for some reason. It's just so weird to me. But this is the thing. I cannot put him or Jordan. I can't put them in my top 10. They just have not done enough. They need a body of work is so important to me. So I'm always going to favor a guy like Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, who I've seen do it for a long time. CJ Stroud or Jordan, these guys could have a sophomore slump. What if they have a sophomore slump? That could easily happen. But I'm not worried about Matt Stafford having a sophomore slump, is my point. Next up, we got Baker Mayfield. Now, obviously, Baker has like 6, 7 seasons before this. However, for the purpose of this list, I feel like we can come to an agreement that Baker basically was reborn last season. This is a version of Baker Mayfield we've never seen before. Even at his peak in Cleveland, I don't feel like we've seen this version of Baker. So I feel like it's fair to ignore what's been happening before last season. Similar to like when we get to Geno Smith, I don't think anybody would ask me to put Geno Smith's time before the Seahawks up, right? So similar thing with Baker. So last season, obviously, not as good as CJ Stroud or Jordan Love. However, it's so similar. They all took their team to the playoff unexpectedly, and they all won a playoff game unexpectedly. It's so weird how similar these guys are, but it's pretty simple. Baker Mayfield, out of those three, I feel like is the least talented, has the biggest heart, plays with the most dog in him, but he's just not as talented. And I don't think at moments in the regular season last year, he was not very good. In other moments, he was great. So, the problem with Baker is still his whole career has been the consistency. I think he put together his best season of his career last season in its entirety. So where am I at right here? I like Baker. I think he did a lot for himself last season. I'm looking forward to what he does in the future. He got paid by the Buccaneers. I'm happy for him, but he has a lot more work to do. But let me put it like that: a lot more work to do before I consider him any higher than where he is right now. I don't even know where we are. If Stafford was number 10, then we are 11, 12, 13, 14. I got Baker as 15. I feel like that's pretty reasonable. 16, I got Geno Smith. Now, I'm a Seahawks fan. There is a little bit of bias involved here. But let me tell you something right now. Gino's been great the last 2 years. Okay. I'm already glazing. Gino's been very, very good the last 2 years, and people don't realize it. Let me start with 2022. No expectations on the Seahawks. Everybody thought we were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. He plays all 17 games, takes us to the playoffs, um, and he's had a great season. 2022, he had a great season. Geno Smith was a top 5 quarterback in 2022, and I will die on that hill. Look at the numbers. Led the league in completion percentage, like 4,700 total yards, 31 total touchdowns, only 19 turnovers. The man was sacked 46 times. 46. That's a ridiculous. Like, guys, that's a ridiculous number. Okay, it's a ridiculous number, but he still had a passer rating of over 100. Didn't turn it over that much. He broke the 4,000 yard barrier. That's one of those. That's one of those numbers I've been talking about. If you break 4,000 yards, that's pretty good. If you have a season with over 4,500 yards combined, which he did in 2022, that's extremely impressive. If you break the 30 touchdown mark, extremely impressive. If you break the 100 passer rating mark, very impressive. He checks all the boxes in 2022. That is. Now we get to 2023. He had a winning record. He got hurt though. He got hurt. He did not end up playing the whole season. Seahawks were 0-2 without him, 8-7 with him. He took a step back. It's undeniable. He took a step back. Um, the numbers speak for themselves. He was not as good as he was in 2022. But here's the thing. Geno Smith, there have been games where we as a Seahawks fan, there have been games we played where Geno Smith was great and we lost. There have been games we played where Geno Smith was not so good and we won. Not that many. There's not that many in that group. I'll be honest with you. There were games we played where, and that's just how it. I don't know where I was going to go with that, but listen, Geno Smith, I feel like has exceeded all expectations. He's had a winning record both seasons. Last year was a disappointment. That's not debatable. But for those to be his disappointment numbers, that's pretty impressive to me. For keep in mind, Geno Smith, the stigma around Geno Smith is ridiculous. If people would just strip away the name, look at the numbers, look at what he's done the last 2 years, you'd be shocked. You'd be absolutely shocked at how good it is compared to other people. 50-20, a 50-20 touchdown interception ratio. It's very good. The pass, I mean, you've seen the number. You've seen the numbers for the other guys. Geno is very good, but the lack of playoff success and the lack of consistency from year to year, has been haunting Geno. So that's why he's at 16. But if this was strictly after 2022, judging solely off 2022, Geno's in my top 5. Next up, we got Trevor Lawrence. I have decided to exclude his rookie season because it was horrendous and he had Urban Meyer as his head coach. So I mean, come on, man. What are you gonna do about that? But here's the thing about Trevor Lawrence, guys. He's overrated. Simple as that. He's overrated. His best year was 2022, which let's be honest here. His 2022 season doesn't hold a candle to Geno Smith. Just go look at the numbers. Same amount of games, same record. Geno Smith blows him out of the water in 2022. And he got sacked 20 more times. He got sacked 20 more times than Trevor in 2022. So, But 2023, oh, wait. Look at that. He played less games than Trevor, 2023. Better record. Better stats. I mean, come on, guys. Are we really arguing this? I think the numbers say Geno is better than Trevor Lawrence. The fan opinion, if I did a poll right now on my channel, who's better, Geno or Trevor Lawrence? Oh, Trevor would blow him out the water. I have no doubts about that. However, strictly talking about Trevor Lawrence here, he has been disappointing the last 2 seasons. His best season was not even a great. It was a very good season. His best is very good so far in his career. That's not great. He turns it over too much. Everybody can agree on that. 46 turnovers the last 2 seasons. That's it's bad. It's objectively bad. Last season was not a good season. If you're below 80, you really don't belong on this list. I mean, honestly, if you have a below 80 passer rating for a season, it's objectively not good. He's had weapons. This is the thing. He's had weapons. 2022, he didn't have Calvin Ridley, so you can understand that. 2023 had Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, ETN, Zay Jones. I mean, he has weapons. That's not the problem here. The problem is that he's inconsistent and has as many bad games as he has good games. So Trevor Lawrence, he has a lot of work to do. For some reason, after 2022, people were just acting like he's made it. He's a top 10 quarterback. Not at all. He took a major step back in 2023, and his rookie season was awful. So, my bad. One second. So, we have not seen much out of Trevor Lawrence, and I need to see a lot more if I'm going to put him any higher than what is it, 17, I think. So, yeah. And then finally, the last person we have on this list is Derek Carr. Now, allow me to go to bat for Derek Carr a little bit here. I was trying to decide whether or not to put him on this list, and I had decided with absolutely. Now, he's never had a season, at least in the last 3 years, where we consider him to be a great quarterback, right? But I want to take you back to a time, right? Before Derek Carr had terrible offensive coaching, right? 2021. Let's look at that year. Almost 5,000 passing yards, a very good passer rating, a 10-7 record, took his team to the playoffs. Okay, that's what Derek Carr was before he was coached by Josh McDaniels and Pete Carmichael, respectively, on the Raiders and Saints. They have absolutely murdered his career. The Josh McDaniels year in 2022, I mean, honestly, I can't even put that much of it on Derek Carr. Now, he played poorly at times, not deniable, but still, it's Josh McDaniels. It's like having Nathaniel Hackett as your coach. How are you supposed to succeed? You're not. That's the thing is you're not. It's a curse. So you know, while I understand 2022 left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, I just can't put that all on Derek Carr. It's Josh McDaniels as the head coach. And 2023, he has Pete Carmichael. Ask any Saints fan what they think about Pete Carmichael. They'll all tell you he's awful and they want him to go to jail. So even with that being said, the man had Pete Carmichael as his head coach. He had Michael Thomas as his wide receiver. Michael Thomas fell off the face of the earth. He had Alvin Kamara getting suspended. He still had a winning record with the Saints. A bad offensive line on top of that. He still had a winning record last year. Still had a winning record with the Saints. A very good passer rating, but everybody was shitting on him. Last season, all I'm seeing about Derek Carr is that he's overrated. He fell off. Saints need to draft a quarterback. What are you saying? The man had a very good year last season. A great year when you take into account all the shit he had to put up with and deal with. So I wholeheartedly believe that Derek Carr could take a team to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's the Saints, probably not the Saints, but I wholeheartedly believe that if you put the talent around Derek Carr, the man could win a Super Bowl. That's how I feel. That's what I think. And that's going to be it for this list. So let's go through it. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those are my quarterbacks in the NFL. And the guys I left off this list, listen, if you're mad that I didn't include Kyler Murray on this list, I'm sorry. The midget's not that good. He's been hurt. Kyler Murray has a lot of work to do before I even consider putting him on a list like this. And fucking Daniel Jones. Is there anybody that is crying that I didn't put Daniel Jones on this list? He's underrated. Daniel Jones is underrated, but there's no fucking way I'm putting Daniel Jones on this list. So that's gonna be it, man. That's gonna be it. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I'm back. I'm back pretty much. We're gonna, it's gonna be a good summer. The rest of the year, the rest of the summer, I should say. It's like, I don't know, I'm delusional right now. But thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.